The first time I was homeless, I was 9 months old. Being a street kid, like in my teens, I lived on the streets of Perth. I was part of like a pretty large community of people that were street present at the age of 37. And I found myself homeless again. And it was like as if 20 years were just down the toilet. I've been drunk half my life. I don't even know who I am. And he goes, sounds like you've been drunk half your life. Who do you want to be? And I'd never thought of that before. I wanted to be not a selfish drunk prick, that's for sure. It was like the universe unfolding because what a revelation. I get to choose. It's been a real dark, hard road, but like at some point you've got to go, it is a choice. It's still a decision. You're making the choice. There is help available. If you want to, you can stop.
Failure is like everything else in life, it's just between
never fail.
I need to know to get to where I want to go. Jaron, welcome to the Feck It No More show. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Glenn. Thank you very much.
It is a pleasure. I came across your story probably about a month ago, I'm guessing now at this stage, is it? And it was one that I thought, okay, this man has definitely had at least one Feck It No More moment. Would you like to tell our audience a little bit about who you are and just introduce yourself, what you currently do?
I was just, because before you press record, I was kind of reflecting on, where do you start kind of thing. And it just reminded me that I think the last time I spoke to my mum, she reminded me that the first time I was homeless, I was 9 months old. And that kind of blew my mind when she said it, because I've gone from being a street kid, like in my teens. I lived on the streets of Perth. I was part of like a pretty large community of people that were street present. I'd say a lot of the time I actually slept on other people's couches and couch surfed, stayed in squats. But I found myself only, about 9 years ago now, after most of my life I've been alcoholic and just drinking myself to death. But I found myself with a family that fell apart. I was made redundant from my employment. And then I think just quantitative amounts of pressure all led to me actually suffering a stroke at the age of 37. And I found myself homeless again. And it was like as if 20 years were just down the toilet. So I found myself at a lodging accommodation that I found through a hotline called Entry Point, with an interview at a place called St. Pat's in Fremantle. And they pretty much offered me accommodation straight away. And I moved in, after being about 1 week's worth of homeless for a second time running. And then, I ended up living there for about 3 years. Within the first few weeks, because of my previous work, I actually was a maintenance and operations manager for a hotel. Yeah. So I knew how to work a fire panel, and the fire alarm was going off one night. And they had what's called head lodgers back then. So one of the guys that lives there is basically responsible for, the stuff that happens after dark when there's no staff. And the fire alarm was going off, and I was like, this is shit. Like I couldn't sleep. So I got up and I found the guy where the panel was, where the noise was coming from. And I just went boop, 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 and turned it off. And he's like, how'd you know how to do that? I'm like, don't worry about it. And went back to bed. And then, so about every day for about a month, that guy kept asking me if I'd be the other head lodger, because you'd have two. And I kept saying no, I didn't want to do it. So because I'd found myself, basically at square one again, wasted half my life. This was the kicker. This was the moment for me that I decided feck it, and decided I wasn't going to drink anymore. Around the same time that I moved into St. Pat's, I also started attending Alcoholics Anonymous. And I was basically white knuckling, surrounded by a lot of drinking and a lot of pretty shady characters that wanted to party and meth and alcohol. But I basically just wanted to keep my head down, go to meetings, and that was it. So that's all I did for a couple of months. But this guy kept pestering me to be the second head lodger. So eventually I thought, I guess I started to believe in omens, like that the world's trying to tell you something, that maybe I should start listening. And I basically just squandered my life. I felt like I'd spent so much time being selfish, drinking, the reason that all these things had happened to me. Maybe I've been an idiot. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my ego's in the way. Maybe every decision I've made is my fault, because I had a lot of blame in me and a lot of reasons to think, my situation was a lot of other people's fault. But it was for one of the first times in my life that I really stood into the, my reflection and thought, did I do this? Am I wrong? And that's, I guess, when I let go and started, doing the AA stuff and started putting my hand up for chairing meetings or whatnot. But then, this guy kept hassling me to be the head lodge. And it wasn't hard. It was take the bins out and clean the kitchens. And I ended up saying yes. And, around the same time, because I was soul searching, and the meetings were okay, but I think I was searching for more. So I started to listen to a lot of podcasts about from Jordan Peterson, about who was basically a conduit for Carl Jung. And then started getting audiobooks of Carl Jung and learning about the shadow self and lifting a load and bearing, and this stuff was quite profound on me. So I guess I developed pretty early, like maybe my choices are bad, and the universe is telling me take some responsibility. So I said, yeah, and I took this role. And I think the first night that I was like, okay, so the idea was that 2 head lodges, you'd have 1 week on, 1 week off. One guy's responsible for a week, the other guy's responsible for the other week. My first week where I was the responsible one, the other guy was having a party. So if you picture this is like, I think it was 22 rooms and about 18 of them were occupied, and they were having a party. Only about 6 or 7 guys were actually having the party, but kind of the rules were, music off by 10. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I'd like to go to bed. There's probably other blokes that are in their rooms that would like to go to bed, not speaking up. And so I was like, what's going on, man? Like, you've asked me to be responsible, like begged me to be like, take this. And now you're the one making all the racket. Yeah. And he basically said, fuck off, dog. You're supposed to have my back. We're about to get paid. I'm getting a halfway. So that was my my first tiptoe into that territory. And then I realized the guy was selling all the meth. The other lads did what he said because that's how he had his thumb on them. Like, they owed him money.
How he was able to keep them.
And that was his way of having power. And what am I supposed to do? Like, fight him, call the police, like, and I'm street, like, you don't snitch on people, that makes me the dog. So I sort of just let it happen. I was like, okay, just clean the bins and clean the kitchens and go through the motions. But the guy started getting worse and worse, like really bad. Like, he was getting cooked a lot. And we'd have the week on, week off. I think this went on for about 3 months. And like some of the times that he was off his head, like, I mean, like, I've seen people on meth. I used to sell the stuff. Like, I've been there. But he was like moaning and dragging his foot around, and he was just unwell. Like, and I felt obligated to try and help him somehow. And it was a really hard time for me to, like I said, like, I know the streets, and like snitching and being a dog and all that sort of stuff, like going and telling someone in authority the actual situation. But at this point, I was actually concerned for his life. It was that bad, and I knew the power dynamic that was over the other guys there, the influence that it had on some of the guys are trying to get clean, and he's there doing that under the noses of the people that run the joint. So I ended up going to them. I didn't like it, but I thought, what's soul searching and what's the right thing to do, like deep
you were
down.
looking at the greater good.
It was like, listening to Carl Jung, my head's full of all sorts of shit, and I'm like, this is about right and wrong and good and evil kind of stuff. Like, meth's the devil, and I've got to stand up to it. But they said there's not much we can do. And I was on my own, and that was another layer of the soul searching. I started seeing a clean cycle around this time. Actually saw a psychiatrist. So I was talking to I saw the psychiatrist once, by the way. So after seeing the clean psych for several months, they said, okay, I think you've got a borderline personality disorder, and we've booked you for the psychiatrist. So I went and saw the psychiatrist for literally a 15-minute session. I said, been drunk half my life. I don't even know who I am, yada, yada. And he goes, sounds like you've been drunk half your life. Who do you want to be? And I had never thought of that before.
You'd never give yourself the chance to think of who you wanted to be.
Is it that easy? You can be whoever you want. And I wanted to be not a selfish drunk prick, that's for sure. It was like the universe unfolding, because like, what a revelation. I get to choose. And so I ended up going to, the staff that were supposed to have the duty of care in this situation, and they said, not much we can do. And that guy dropped dead. He bumped his head on a coffee table in his room and bled out, and no one found him until I asked, where is he? And his best mate wanted to kill me. And
nothing was done about it, Jaron? Is that, or?
Well, no, nothing was done. It was like for me, it was a revelation that I was alone. I was alone, and I was responsible. That's how it felt. And so one night, because his mate, obviously he was off his head. He was grieving and angry and needed someone to blame. And I was now
you were just that
position of authority in that building. So he didn't strike anyone. I called the police. I called housing. Like no one wanted to help until he'd actually physically harmed someone, and he wanted me. But he ended up thumping another bloke, and I called the police again saying he's assaulted someone now, and they were there with bells on in seconds. And he actually walked past them as they were coming up these stairs. It's like this little courtyard with the 22 rooms, and they've come through this courtyard part, gone to the stairs, and he's gone down the stairs and walked past them. And as he's leaving, he's gone like this to me. I'm on the first floor balcony,
as if to say, I'm doing nothing.
I laughed. I was like, that was pretty smooth, bro. Like,
Yeah.
come on, that was pretty good. He went straight past him. I was like, yeah, that was him. He just walked past him.
You just missed him.
Yeah. But yeah, after that, it was like, this is complex needs guys. And I don't know. After that event, I didn't like being afraid. I didn't want that anymore. I needed to dig down, and like it was something that I remember reading about that Jordan Peterson says about you're not brave being a rabbit, or you're not. It's not a moral, ethical goodness to be the frightened little rabbit. What's a moral, ethical choice is being the wolf who chooses to do the right thing. And yeah, the shadow self stuff. So I started barking. I started yelling. I started screaming at guys. I started saying this is not on. But I would yell at a man for doing the wrong thing in a way that I was conscientious of. I didn't want him to hear what I was saying as much as the guy whose window I was standing next to who's hiding in his room. And then one night, one of the blokes wanted to fight me because he set off the fire alarm with his steam in his shower. And I said, the next time that happens, we're evacuating. And he was like blaming me for the fact that he didn't shut his bathroom door. And the guy that lives next door to him stood in front of him and said, no, you shut up and listen to him, and pointed at me.
So it was starting to have a knock-on effect.
Solidarity. Yeah, because they knew I had their back. The quiet ones did. The ones that didn't speak up a lot. And it started to become a brotherhood. I used to call us the Lost Boys. And some of those guys are like my brothers, like my, like friends for life. And there was dark times, there was good times. I was there for like 4 deaths.
How long were you there overall?
3 years.
3 years. So there was 4 deaths in them 3 years. Which is too many for sure.
But at some point, like I guess maybe year 1, like after a year of being there, and I started to fall out with the AA crowd. Like, I guess you graduate high school, you get your certificate and you move on, you go to the next thing. And I started to realize like a group like that, it depends on you being perpetually sick. And I started to not feel so sick. So I fell off the wagon at one point, and it turned out it wasn't that big a deal. Like, I'm not saying I drink like I used to. I haven't for a long time, but I realized it wasn't that big a deal, and I was putting too much pressure on myself. And like, we all make mistakes, and I realized I never let myself make mistakes, and that was part of the problem. But I still had this new sense of service because of that, and I'll always be grateful for that. But that's when one night I just sort of, because I hadn't actually received any, because St. Pat's is like a support centre. So it's got a day centre, and I think I had lunch there twice in 3 years. And one voucher once, like a $40 Coles voucher. But I never really asked for help beyond that room, having that room, a sanctuary that I turned into a home. And the boys sort of started, it got to a point where I could go like that at 10:05 because the music was on. And they go, oh, sorry, bro. It was, it's cool. But I went on the St. Pat's website, found their volunteering page and applied. Because I wanted to be part of that. Like, I felt like they were helping people, and that was something I was interested in.
And you wanted to think, you wanted to be
and I was living there. So it was awkward because they'd never had that before either. They'd never had a volunteer client. I think I volunteered for like 2 or 3 months, and then I was offered employment. And they had to change the rules because there was rules in place that
to stop the employment.
Because it was a conflict of interest for a resident to be an employee, but I was the first one to be. And today I've been employed at St. Pat's for 7 years.
Brilliant. Congratulations on your 7 years. I want to give the listeners some little bit more context. And I want to take you back to maybe life before getting to that point. You said that you made a lot of mistakes. You said that, you'd been homeless quite a numerous amount of times. At what part do you think could you see that going wrong in your own life?
I don't think it was ever good.
No?
It must be in my teens at some point. It must coincide with the exact same time that you discover rock and roll and marijuana and social circles. And then, in hindsight, I realized I was in some sort of a state of arrested development that I never grew up from the party time. And that was where the being on the streets, the first place was, because I found a whole network of mates that were all the same as me. And it was all about partying and drugs and not really like growing up.
So the the home environment before that solid, everything okay?
It was up until teens. Yeah. Like my younger years weren't that bad. Like I did grow up in a home with domestic violence. Like I didn't actually meet my dad until I was 14 and had a stepdad, but like him and my mum and then we ended up moving when I was about 11 years old. And I think high school was around the time that things started to come undone a little.
Yeah.
But it was definitely around 14, 15 that I sort of I couldn't stand my mum anymore.
Yeah.
I decided I needed to get out of there. I think 16 or 17 is when because I grew up in Geraldton, but it was when I left to go to Perth, and I just wanted to run amok. I think I stayed with my dad for about a month. He couldn't put up with it, and he kicked me out. And then that was it. Yeah.
But the reason for the question was whenever you had said that for a long time you just kind of you blamed the world or you had excuses, for the reasons of why it was. So it was to add some context around that. You get in to the wrong crowd, you're doing the wrong things, and that just drags on for years, is it? Like you said,
it did, but I was kind of like I was kind of like a high functioning alcoholic. So
really, really quick. I know you're enjoying the content. It's not like me to ask for help, but here goes. We need your help to reach more people. We are finding the guests. People are coming on to share their story, and we need to get their message out to people who may be currently in that moment and needing to hear it. And I can't do that without you. Please hit that follow or subscribe button, depending on the platform. Hit the like button or the love button. Really helps us out. Most powerful is to leave a comment to say that you've either enjoyed the show, what you've taken away from it, what stood out for you, how it relates to your life, what you think other people would be able to get from this show. Things like that really do help us grow and make meaningful impact to other people's lives. I'll let you get back to the show. Okay.
I think I'd still get employment. Like I worked in nightclubs. My stepdad owned a nightclub. I had jobs as like a glassy from, I was working in clubs before I was old enough to drink in them.
Yeah.
I grew up around it. And then, it's actually ironically a lot to do with the fact that I'm good at IT now is the fact that, because my stepdad was a DJ and he had to plug in, audio equipment. I knew the RCA cables, the white, yellow, red, and the XLR, all of that stuff. Because he was a video DJ, so he had a projector and music hits on like cassette, VHS, and I knew all that stuff. I was like programming the VCR at like 8 years old. So when it came to toys and gadgets, but that was a conduit for me going to work in places like it, and I became a cellarman. I worked for the Harbourside Hotel in Fremantle for quite a few years. I think, when I was about 17 or 18, one of my best friends who I knew from the streets and was extremely close with took his own life. And that was around the time that I decided I wanted to go back to school and graduate. And I went to a place called Northlake Senior Campus and did finish year 12. But then around that same time, out of necessity, I got a job at Harbourside and ended up not continuing to uni because I was making enough money to keep myself on the piss. But that led to like more work, and I moved to Mandurah and worked for a hotel in Mandurah. Like just the fact that I knew the beer lines and I happened to be a pool technician as well, it just fit well with the hotel stuff. And so I had employment. Like I worked my way from the amount of times I worked from like nothing to like a position with a manager in the title because of like literally when I started at St. Pat's, my first role, I was cleaning the toilets. I'm now the IT officer in that 7 years. Like I learn everything from the ground up, and it's just a habit of mine to piece things together. So this time around, I'm not drinking a litre of Beam every day while I do it.
Yeah. And I suppose it sounds like you were very much somebody that picked things up. You mentioned earlier about, the streets, and I'm guessing that comes with having some street smarts as well. It sounds like you're able to figure out how things should work and being able to put a plan in place to achieve that. Were you along that kind of from 17 till, early 30s? Was there points along the line where you thought, I'm probably having a negative impact on my life with the actions and the behavior, or was it just, this is fun, I'm just carrying on, I'm going through?
I definitely had like ebbs and flows. I definitely had like points where I'm like, this is pointless, but this is when suicidality comes into it, because I got scars all over me, like of useless attempts or pretty genuine deep ones, but like the blame stuff we were talking about before, like I had a lot of blame for my parents, for the system itself. Like it was kind of very anarchistic. And then I mentioned the music because I'm actually a musician as well, and when I was on the streets, I was busking. I was busking in 1999 to 2001. That was how I made money. So I'd make enough money for a stick of weed, a feed, and sometimes a carton of piss. And that whole rock and roll sort of lifestyle. Like I felt like I was winning. Like I felt like I was sticking it to the man. I wasn't part of the system. The system was rigged. And the irony was, I remember, because in order to get settling payments, you couldn't be homeless. You had to have an address. So you had to lie. It was like, this is a catch-22. Like and knowing that from then has been useful now. Like when because I do some lived experience advocacy. And it's like the irony that, and I'm like, this is because they want to fudge the numbers. They don't want to know how many people are actually homeless. They don't want to know that we're. It's only now that they've actually really started to count them properly. And the irony is they use something like the census. The census is supposed. People without homes don't get the fucking census. How are you supposed to count those people? It doesn't make any sense. So you had to. In order to get settling, you had to say you had accommodation, so you weren't homeless. If you were homeless, that's what you had to do to survive. So it was kind of reinforcing my opinion that the system is rigged.
Because the system's definitely not perfect, and it's definitely got flaws, and it's definitely wrong. I totally agree with that. But it's that belief that I suppose it sounds like you realize somewhere along the journey that, hey, look, I'm still ultimately responsible for my destiny and my future.
Like my mate Tripper taking his own life, that was a huge catalyst for me thinking to myself, maybe this is not the right way to go. And I did go back to school. He was a huge reason for me to really want to finish that.
Be better.
But then, at some point I just started to conform. You just drink. It's very cliche Aussie. You say I'm not alcoholic, I'm Australian, and the culture that comes with that, and working class, and I ended up just you wake up, go to work, get home, hit the piss, and that just became routine.
Part of life. It wasn't it's just a lifestyle.
I didn't realize how self-destructive that was. I thought it was normal, and in hindsight, how much I was at, because I was literally drinking a litre of Beam every day when I could afford it, and that's crazy.
That is very crazy, and definitely not good for health, even apart from mental health. I suppose I try not to let my bias cloud my judgment in these discussions, because my father was an alcoholic. He went to AA, announced it, told everybody for years he was an alcoholic, and went through the Delta program. Life before he started that, it was very difficult in the home to be a young child and involved in that environment. Never violent, but definitely arguments and a kind of threatening behavior at times, and not a great environment. So my bias of, do you know what? If you just wanted to drink or stop drinking, you could just stop drinking. Like that's as a child who wants his father to be there and be supportive. I could never understand, well, if he really cared about us like he says he does, why could he not just stop? But it sounded like, you maybe were at a point where you didn't even recognize that it was doing any potential negative harm, or did you realize, was there other aspects of your life that was suffering as a result?
I knew
of you?
It was. And this is my current wife is my second wife. And my previous wife would tell me that this is a problem, and I just didn't have the ears to hear it. In hindsight, what you're describing, I relate to that so much, because it's like a soul sickness. Alcohol's not the poison; it's the medicine to the sickness.
I agree.
And that's what
100%.
What a lot of people don't really understand. It's like the cure for the ailment of you having a lost soul, I suppose. And you're too oblivious because of the pain of that your medicine is hurting the people you love. It's a very weird, dark spiral to go down. Now it's easy as pie for me to go. It's easier just to not drink. But I empathize with the people that still go through it. But I've like I said, I lived there at St. Pat's for 3 years. White knuckle sober, with guys that were just
around you that were still using.
Indigenous lads and guys that were just drinking themselves to absolute death, to the point where I was so frustrated I wanted to throw them over the balcony many times. Didn't. But wanted to, for sure. It's a really weird. It's hard for. I always compare it to my own self. It was, I had to hit a certain level of rock bottom in order to finally be shocked enough to go, how did I get here?
Yeah.
And it's hard to watch someone else do it to themselves and know their rock bottom might be 6 feet under, like,
Yeah.
and you've got to watch it happen, but
It's,
nothing you can do or say is going to,
um,
like, doing a podcast like this is fantastic because I actually, like, someone's actually asking me what
yeah.
I've been through, where I'm coming from. But like, I've told this joke at like public events that I've spoken. How many social workers does it take to change a light bulb?
Yeah.
None. The light bulb has to want to change,
Yeah.
and it's true.
It's
Doesn't
very,
matter how
very
many
true.
people help. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, look, I went through the Alateen program for a long time. So I suppose I had, as a young age, I also spoke to family therapists when times where he might have been in mental health institutions trying to get extra support and that. So I suppose I got the positives that I look back on now is I got given a lot of tools at a very young age that maybe some people never get in their lives because as a coping mechanism for what was going on around me at the time. And my older sister very much went through that journey too. The other kids were a little bit older. My father stopped drinking for 17 years and completely different person and done amazing. Unfortunately, at some point he felt like, okay, I don't have a problem. This isn't a problem. I'm in control of this, and I no longer need all that shit. I don't know what everybody was talking about. I never had a problem. So done a total 360, and again, like you said, being able to having to watch somebody hit that self-destruct button and not being able to do anything about it is a very challenging place to be for anybody. But I suppose having that idea that I see it now from two levels. I see it from the person or the people around that's impacted, knowing that you can't do nothing about it.
Mm.
It's one thing to know you can't do anything about it. I had other circumstances in my life recently, which I can't really go into as a part of my life. It's not my story to tell, but being able to watch somebody else go through it and have a huge impact on you, knowing the things that knowing you can't do anything doesn't make it any easier to watch it again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I also know from having talked to a lot of people that are currently in that situation and are trying to change their life and make their own life better and trying to get themselves out of that position. That rock bottom that you talk about, you mentioned that unfortunately sometimes it is 6 feet under, and that is the definite unfortunate cases. But everybody has to find that. Like for me, that Feck It No More moment is very much like a rock bottom. It's whenever we decide this is it. And everybody's levels tend to be different. Your rock bottom, was it very clear to you at that point? Was it like, this is it, it's definitely changing? Is it like if somebody's listening now to try and understand, okay, where is my rock bottom? Is it a little bit more? Do I go on for months? Is it now? How bad do things get? What was yours like for them people listening, Jaron?
I guess for me, it was actually really dark, and it was that idea that I've just squandered 20 years. Like whatever it was that I came from the streets and thought I'd clawed my way to be somebody, to realize I'm back where I started, and that the last 20 years meant nothing. Like I was stepdad to 3 kids in that previous relationship. I still haven't spoken to those kids.
Yeah.
Like I miss them, but at some point I realized me being involved in their life would be more about me feeling like justifying who I am, not really benefiting them. Like if they're happy, what do I have to do with it?
Yeah.
But and I regret that, but it's something that I had to face up to.
Yeah.
I didn't have a Feck It No More moment the way you're describing there, because I just had a I deserve to be dead moment. Like this,
Okay.
I've done it enough.
Yeah.
Here I am again, and all I've done is drink. And like I've had enough moment.
Yeah.
Like this is not okay moment.
Yeah.
I didn't like have this hope that I was going to be anything special. I just wanted to stop going the way I was going. And it was like, 2 years of clinical psychology, that eureka moment with the psych that I mentioned earlier. But it was after I started to volunteer, started my employment, and then so I don't know, like somewhere in all of that noise, little pieces of me started to come back together, and I started to. I think the Feck It No More was like literally starting to to bark orders, to be that wolf that I was talking about,
yeah,
and put myself at risk
yeah.
for
Or other people.
the guy that didn't have that voice. Yeah, that couldn't articulate what I can articulate. That
Yeah,
didn't because when I was yelling at that bloke for doing the wrong thing and saying it so the
yeah,
guy with the window nearby could hear it,
mm,
that was probably it. That was probably
yeah.
the moment, because I realized it wasn't about me for the
So that
first time ever. Yeah,
yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. You've realized that there's more to life than just you, and that there's a bigger calling that
yeah,
you can do more and help more.
yeah. If I had
That
to
that
quantify it, say that's actually it. And I don't think I've actually thought it through that much until now. Yeah,
yeah. No, that makes perfect sense to me, because whenever there is, I said to you off air, there was my younger years due to whatever circumstances, but I remember in my early teens driving cars very, very fast, and people used to tell me, "You're going to kill yourself someday." And I used
yeah,
to say, "Well, if that's what happens, that's what happens." I really didn't really care. I didn't want to die, I wouldn't say, but I didn't really care if that happened. But whenever I met my wife and we have children a few years later, and there's something kind of bigger than that, and I knew that I had to be there for more. That was
yeah,
my first moment where I was like, I need to be better. I need to look at
yeah.
myself. That was my first little glimpse of that. Now roll on 20 years then, and you've gathered up knowledge and information, and you can see how your life's improved from that. 10, 15 years ago, whenever I was doing ultra running and endurance sports, and I could see the benefits from having a better mental outlook in terms of that and how it was improving my life, then it was like, okay, how do I help other people gain this
Yeah.
knowledge as well? And there's something very rewarding, I suppose is probably the word, whenever you can know that you're making a slight little difference to other people's lives, whether it's speaking up for them and calling it out, whether it's being a leader in a business and fighting for the rights for the people that are working there to make sure that they're getting a fair shout and a fair deal.
Mm.
There's just something very rewarding whenever you put something bigger than yourself, I think is what I have noticed over my journey.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I
Mhm.
think the goalpost always shifts, because for a
Mm,
little while there, it was, being in that place, it was the other blokes that lived there, or, what's right. But after a
yeah,
while, I met my girl and we needed to get out, and it was COVID.
yeah,
And I had my other Feck It no mod. I couldn't be there anymore. I couldn't have, because I was
okay,
working there at
yeah,
St. Pat's, and I had them knocking on my door. Like I was
yeah,
living there and working there. It was not okay. So
yeah,
I'm glad I got a place with my partner. We got pregnant. We got an apartment, and then we saved everything we had for 3 years, and now finally
mm,
own a home, like going from
yeah,
homeless to own. And I had no idea this was on the cards, to go
yeah,
from that lost boy that was back at
mm,
square one, deciding I'm not going to drink, to
yeah,
owning a home. I had no idea this was in store for me. And now
no,
that I'm doing it for someone else thing is a
mhm,
is a very beautiful young girl who is now
yeah,
4 years old, and
yeah,
is my life, and makes me want to stop smoking, want to stop.
yeah,
I'm getting fit again. I'm exercising. I'm doing martial
yeah,
arts on weekends, because I want to live forever. Like, she just
yeah,
brings me so much joy, and inspires me, and makes me want to be a better person, so that I can inspire her to be a good person, and
yeah,
instill her with the stuff that I never got.
yeah,
It's magic.
yeah. No, that's awesome, and I want to congratulate you, Jaron, for being able to make such a positive impact on your own life is a great achievement, and I encourage
Yeah.
everybody to try it out because it's definitely very rewarding. But to go on then and make the impact that you're making with other people, and I know you're very much still involved in that, is really something that you should be hugely proud of. Being able to achieve the house and have get your life on track and impact the family in a positive way. That's
Mm.
all very, very. It doesn't happen by chance. It takes time. It takes effort, and I'm guessing it's probably taken a few missteps along the way as well. But
Yeah.
it definitely is something that you should be very proud of, and something that you should acknowledge. That, hey, look, I was able to achieve that. The work that you're doing with other people, I want to just understand a little bit more about how you're still helping in the homeless space at the moment. What does that look
Yeah.
like?
So So at the moment, for my role at St. Pat's, I'm IT officer, and basically I'm in charge of laptops and phones. Like I found, I did emergency relief for a while and was like face to face with clients and handed out those Coles vouchers that I mentioned earlier. But it was like every step of the way I was asked to fix a printer or help with the phone or something like that, and it turned out it just kept happening. So I said, "Is there something here?" to my boss, and it became the role I've got now. But like, I guess I had a thirst for more. Like you've obviously discovered some stuff about me. I've been, interviewed for magazines, and there's a couple of videos off of Minderoo Foundation talking about lived experience. And I ended up with a role with the West Australian Alliance to End Homelessness as the lived experience representative that I only just recently had to give up. But like advocating for people that have been on the streets and, speaking on a governance level with, boards and corporate bodies, so that I guess who better to inform the people making the decisions of how a social work or a community services or engagement hub should be than the people that have actually lived in them or been there.
I agree.
So I've been very grateful to like kind of like get in on the level that's more governance and board. So I've done some, I'm actually on a board for the Homelessness Advocacy Collective, and recently just resigned from my role for the West Australian Alliance. So there's multiple layers of plates spinning. But it's also, I guess, I want to do it in a way that's meaningful and impactful. That's a little bit like a larger scope than just sort of doing the soup fan kind of thing. Because people want to get involved and get engaged. I think sometimes you can do harm if you're starting your own thing without really understanding what's already in place, because there's a lot of people already working for these organizations that are trained experts, and they're getting pushed to the side, and someone's going, "Oh, we should just do this." Like that tent city in Fremantle was one of the ones that drove me nuts. I don't know if you remember that from 2019, but it turned into a bit of a, excuse my French, but shit show. I hope things like that don't happen again. Like if you want to get involved with supporting homelessness, find out who your local community sector agents are and support them. Everybody's screaming for volunteers. Your local council, but like the like planning and committee meetings in every local council, there's someone mentioning, because it's become an epidemic. Like there's no houses, there's nowhere to put anyone. And it's just growing, and it's not the same stereotype people from, your imagination where it's like, hobo on the park bench, like yelling dog to everyone. Like there's families in cars, like whole families. My dad's just got accommodation at Common Ground in East Perth. Like my dad, I can't even help my dad. Like it's more complex than that, and you can't just open your doors and invite, thousands of people into your home, obviously. But and then at the same time, there's people building granny flats in their backyard to milk the situation in a way that's kind of a bit, I don't know, icky. So you might have good intentions, but like I think some people aren't. Some people are taking advantage of it. But there's so many ways to get involved and to help people in a genuine, authentic way that's actually beneficial. And if anyone was interested, I encourage you to do that way with people that have done this and are experts that need help.
The systems are in place. Because again, it's like if there's so many different things popping up, it's not helpful to the people that really need the services to know where to go to.
It dilutes it was some activist movement from Melbourne I remember reading about that were coming to Perth to come and help solve our homelessness crisis, as if there wasn't already like multiple, there's Shelter WA, there's Uniting WA, there's Anglicare, there's so many organisations that's all they're doing all the time. And those frontline workers are so overworked and just do it for the love and try to do their best. But at the end of the day, they're pulling their hair out too because there's no bloody houses. And I even think, that the Labor government's doing the best they can with what they've got. I do think Minister Carey's done a pretty good job. I think it's, I can't remember the latest guy's name, but like they're trying. It's just, it's not fast enough. It's not quick enough. And it's like just remember that the next time you step over someone when you're going to your shopping centre that's outside the shopping centre, because he's got nowhere to bloody go. Like you forget that this could be you in an alternative universe where
just
things didn't work out. That could be you. And
nobody knows what the future is.
Sorry.
No, I totally agree. It is everybody's problem. It's not just any individual or any groups that need to solve this problem. I want to try and, I suppose, Somebody that might be going through something similar in life at the moment, whether it's a drink. I had a conversation with somebody yesterday who had a really bad ice addiction that led them to some fairly dark places as well. But somebody that's going through an addiction or a challenge that they are really, really struggling with to overcome at the moment, based on your experience, what advice would you have, or what, based off your own advice? I don't like the word advice because that just sounds like, oh, let's give them some advice and off they go. But I suppose, what would you hope that people could take away from your journey, your kind of lived history, that might help somebody that's going through something similar at the moment?
Look, I'm not the expert. I just know what worked for me. Like, it was time to stop because I was going to die. Like, I had a stroke. When they put stents in your head, you have to be awake, and they insert a needle in your inner thigh and go up through your body, through your heart, and into your brain, and you can feel it the whole time. They had to put 2 in my brain, and the surgeon at the end, he told me we had to put one that we usually put in a leg because you'd shredded your optic nerve. I'm actually quarter blind because I blew a hole through my optic nerve, and I'm lucky that I can wiggle my thumbs, I can wiggle my tongue, but I'm a quarter blind, like, which means I can see what's right in front of me, but I can't see like where oncoming traffic would be. So say your field of view is a clock from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock, I've got a big missing dot. If that's not as close to death as one gets, like, what do you need? You know, if it's an addiction, sure. And I've been there. I've been on the meth. I've sold the meth, and I've drunk like a bloody fish. Like, I've sipped it off the ground when I've dropped it. Like, it's been a real dark, hard road. But like, at some point, you've got to go. It is a choice. It's still a decision. Like, you're making the choice. There is help available. If you want to, you can stop. You can. You've got to just go and get it. But that's the hard part. That's the wanting. It's the decision. It's like you said, the Feck It. It's the name of the podcast.
It's that decision.
It's that
decision from, this can't continue this way, to I need to do something different. And
it's asking for help, or it's the final moment where you realize you're powerless. They say in the 12-step programs, you've become powerless. It's admitting that. It might not be getting clean or sober straight away, but admitting that, it's a bloody brave thing to do. And it's powerful, and your soul cries, like, and my soul feels. It's like a shared experience. Like, I empathize. I'll be there for you. Like, someone's going through that. But it's hard to be there for someone that is incapable of admitting that moment, like having that.
Got to that point yet.
But when they are, I'm there for you, brother. Like, the second you have that, I will move mountains for you. But if you're gonna be a vampire to what I've built for my people, then I will burn you. There's a very fine line between those two things. Like, I have to protect. I have a responsibility. I can't give of myself to someone that's just going to take so much that I've got nothing left. But the second that someone's ready, oh mate, please, I beg of you, get there. Find that place
at whatever cost you can, whatever reason you give yourself, whatever little shred that you can choose to hold on to turn that decision in your mind from, this is going to just continue, this is my life, this is where I'm stuck, this is it, this is always going to be this way, it's just going to get worse, to trying to find something to go, wait, other people have been able to do it. Other people have been able to turn their life around. Even if it's just curiosity, how do I do that? What do I need to learn? Who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to ask for help? That curiosity can be a really good tool as well to use.
And what does it take to find that curiosity? Like, I know people that are still doing it with sons that are in care program, like foster, because they love their drugs more than their son. Like, of course they love their son, but
of course,
it's like, that's even not enough to want to be responsible, to be there for them, to show them what a man's supposed to look like. Like, that isn't enough yet. Like, and I've been there. I've been that person. I've been the sucker. I've been the one that's not an inspiration, but I never intend to go back. That's for sure.
No, it certainly sounds like it. I really like what you said about if and when they get to that point, you're there for them. And I think there's so many people out there in the exact same boat. There is so many people that have gone through it before. There's so many organizations that are there available waiting to help, but without them asking or wanting that help, they know they're powerless. So I suppose that's a message that I think would be very beneficial for anybody listening at the moment. And it doesn't have to be drugs and alcohol. It doesn't. It just has to be. I think of, other people in hard places in their life. There is organizations out there for pretty much everything. Every struggle that's out there at the moment, we've got some sort of an organization for in a local area. But it's getting to the point to go, okay, I need help. And just being able to ask for that, I think, is a huge part of that. In terms of what the future holds for you, how do you look at it? What have you got in place? What are you...
The irony is, like, the goals have shifted so much for me because I never saw myself coming here. This was never a goal. Like, owning my own home was to some degree, it was a goal. Like, let's just save our money and get a place. And I thought, the small goals that are a couple of years down the track or 6 months down the track, obtainable. Like, I feel like the king of the world. I've got everything I want. I've got a happy kid. I've got a happy wife. What else do you need? I've got a good job that is supportive of other people. Like, there is things on the horizon for me. I hope to, start my own little entrepreneurial things. Not really about profit. It will be a non-for-profit, but mostly for other lived experience people. I feel like they're a little bit underrepresented. Like, there's places for them within institutions that maybe don't really comprehend the value of them. Of the individuals, and I feel like my next fight will be sticking up for them to build. I always love this quote, like to plant trees for shade of which I'll never sit in. I'm not sure where the quote comes from, but it's that's what's on the horizon for me in terms of lived experience of homelessness professionally. But other than that, mate, I want to just be an awesome dad. I just want to be an awesome dad for a kid that lights up when I'm there and inspire her to just have the best life she can possibly have.
I really like
potentially
that. But I think that is really really great to hear. That it sounds like you very much want to live and enjoy that moment with the family and be there for them. One of the pieces of advice is I give people with the benefit of hindsight that I kind of work with. I work with a lot of driven people that want to succeed and want to do a lot more. And I always encourage them not to miss the now because they're so driven about the future and what they have to achieve, where they want to go and what they want to get to. So to hear you say that just enjoying the now and being present for the children now is very great advice.
Life's much better when you do, because I think that's one of the things I did realize through this whole journey, especially like, going deep and dark into Carl Jung and listening to that sort of noise. I was skateboarding while listening to Carl Jung. But like the idea that I'm constantly either ruminating on the past or fantasizing about a future that might not even happen, worried about things that people are saying that I'm not there to hear, like shit that's not happening or isn't real or already happened that you can't deal with or do anything about. And our brain is like perpetually stuck in either of those two states. Yeah. And then my favorite days, I recently just bought a push bike. We've got a lake nearby and I've got a little seat for my kid to sit on. Is not giving a shit about the future or the past. It's being on the push bike and looking for birds.
That is really what I was going to ask. It sounds like you've got to a really good place. You sound like you genuinely come across really happy at the moment. Is there any other tools that you've come across that on your journey that you implement on a regular basis? Like, I know you mentioned you've listened to podcasts and you've kind of tried to get that knowledge, which I think is important. Meditation, anything like that there? Have you ever gone anything down that line?
I never used to really look after my physical health, but for quite some time now I have. Like, I wake up and get straight into, like, even a small workout routine, but it's just something. It's something. I get out of bed and I go, I don't want to, I can't be bothered. And I go, shut up and do it, and just do it anyway. So got a little bit of a routine going. I've been a little bit slack lately because I was sick for the last week or so, but I intend to get back into that. I started martial arts on weekends, bought a push bike, and I just absolutely love having a push bike. It's so good. Just to, the three of us, we just scoot around and got a little picnic bag. I can park on the back of it and just stop somewhere and have a sandwich. We went for a sausage roll last week. But being present in the moment on the weekends with my family. But I wouldn't say I do meditative mantras or anything like that. I kind of let go of all that stuff because I feel like they're their own traps in a way. Like whatever works for you works. To some degree, I think that sort of programming is what somebody needs. But I feel really relieved to just let go of it. And thank you for saying that I seem really happy because I've had a bit of a miserable day at work. I'm a bit busy. It's really overwhelming, the amount of stuff that I've become responsible for, where it's like, oh my God, when does it stop? But
it doesn't.
You do switch off when you get home and and try to remember that it is just stuff. It's just all just noise, and
it's all still going to be there tomorrow.
Yeah, it's all going to be there tomorrow. One of the things that's really helped me is I don't watch the news so much. It's
negativity.
It's like this onslaught of triggering. It just wants you to be perpetually afraid, and it's like, and now the war's happening, and now this happened, and then that, and it's like, if I just turn this off, none of it's happening. So social media, I look at Reddit once in a while. I don't do Facebook. I don't do Instagram. I don't do Twitter. And my mental health has just skyrocketed since I turned all of those things off. Reddit's all right because it's anonymous and there might be a subject I actually give a shit about. But the rest of it's just trash.
I'm a firm believer in what we take in. I heard this concept a few different ways over the years, but it's basically whether some of the things that we surround ourselves with, or people that we surround ourselves with, or the books that we read, or the information that we take in. So if we're taking in a lot of negative stuff, it's going to have a negative impact on us because it's what we're taking in. It's energy that we're taking in. The more positivity that we can take in, the more it's going to have a positive impact on our life. And there was certainly things that I used to do that I had to go, okay, where I want to go, or what I want my life to look like, this isn't adding to that, and I have to just kind of cut it out. News was something that I cut out years ago because whenever they start putting positive stuff on the news, I'll start watching it again. It's not to say that I'm not sympathetic to the wars, to the people that are struggling, the hard things. Most sympathetic person out there, but I just don't need to be bombarded with it all day long.
There's a difference between I guess reading news, it's if there's a difference between being informed and actively seeking the info and cross-referencing what's true and what's not versus this marketing version of it where it's just thrown at you like this sensationalized, polarizing news that's trying to get you incensed. So you're looking at it and reading it. So you're getting advertised to. It's all a game. They're trying to trick you to get you engaging to get the algorithms whirling. And it's like I'm a sucker if I fall for it. So disengaging. But what you were saying just reminded me, there's a lot to be said about the AA groups or volunteering about the people that you meet, because you are the company you keep and the people that you're with and participating.
Sorry for the interruption. Not easy for me to ask for help, but here goes. The biggest challenge we have as a small community is being able to reach people. Our guests that are coming on, sharing raw moments about their lives and how they went through it. People are giving up their time, being brave enough to come on and share that with our community. Now, the biggest challenge for us is getting that message to the people who need to hear it the most. So if you're joining us today, I ask you to do two simple things. One, whatever platform you're looking on, whether it's YouTube or whether it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anything else, please hit the subscribe button, the follow button, whatever it is on the platform. Second, really simple, just hit that little like button or love button, again, whatever platform you're watching on. It really does help us grow and reach different people. Lastly, please consider leaving comments for the guest that's on or the topic that we're talking about. It helps the channel grow and expand, and it also helps other people that may need to hear the content, which is what we're all about here, find the content. Let's get back to the episode.
In events with
True.
If you're buying drugs and you're hanging out with drug dealers, maybe that's not the best thing. But if you're finding people that are also into recovery, and some of the people that you meet are definitely loopy and probably not the best, most healthy. But others, you find the ones that count, and you make the
Gravitate
best
to them.
people you've ever met in your life. Like the volunteers that I've worked with, like some of the ladies that were volunteers when I first started volunteering for St. Pat's. I was in the donations warehouse for the op shops.
Yeah.
They became my mums. Like
Yeah.
they're family to me. Like I've invited them to my wedding. I haven't worked with them
Yeah.
for about 3 years, but they're still family to me.
It'll made an impact.
Yeah, and they're doing something because they've got idle hands. They want to contribute, and that's where they found themselves, folding clothes for an op shop. That they get camaraderie, and they're contributing, and they're there's a whole sewing circle now. They're making clothes to sell from the op shop, and all the money made at the op shop goes back to helping the homeless. How awesome is that? Going into joining a sewing group for a little old lady, you know? But the friends I've made in AA, like I've still got lifelong friends that I'll remember forever, like lasting impact. Yeah, communities and working with actual other people. I think that's the cure for that soul sickness that I was talking about before, because I was lacking something and alcohol was filling a void. But when I started to network with other humans, that I actually had some sort of connections and relationships, and realizing that I'm not alone, that it's okay to feel exposed and tell someone I'm not okay, and for them to share that I've also been through that. I know how that feels. Not rob me of it, but like empathize and genuinely go through some shit together. Like it rebuilds who you are. Like and then you're there for them, not in a toxic, vampiric kind of way, but more of a self-sustaining, helpful, genuine. Yeah, community is a huge aspect of any recovery.
Agree. Community, Jaron, is certainly one of them things that it's out there and it's everywhere. For me, that whole thing of what we focus on is what we see. It's the red car theory. The more we start looking for red cars, the more red cars you will see. I noticed this a few different times in my life where I got into endurance sports at 30. I realized I was totally unfit. I was heading for a heart attack really bad, and I needed to change how I was kind of eating and behaving. So I decided I'm going to run a marathon, and I started looking for running things that were there all the time, but I just never associated with it. It wasn't something I looked for. Same things whenever you go into the different aspects then further down the line. I got to the point where I wanted to learn more about finance because I thought that's an area of my life that I was really struggling in. I started looking for a community where there's people that have gone through similar stories to help improve their lives. Them communities are everywhere. The key is that we just have to start kind of looking for them and being open to it. And as you said, is a really good community in terms of to give people the knowledge and to get them started in that journey. But there's so many other ones out there as well that will have the exact same result. The key is to go, okay, I'm stronger with more people around me than I am on the sum of my own. And I firmly believe that. I think even as a human race, it seems to be over the last, I don't know, couple of decades, we seem to have lost that community feel quite a bit in terms of
the internet's it's ironic, like, because it's a way for people to find each other that wouldn't have before, but it's also like this artificial version of it. Like there's no physical contact. It's a bit bizarre, but being engaged just locally, like getting, they say your feet have got to touch the soil again. It is really cool. Like, and some people give you the shits. They just do. Like, it's true. You're not going to get along with everyone, but don't let one person that annoys you ruin the 50 other people you could meet.
No, I totally agree. I see people out in the morning, they meet up, they go for cold dips in the morning. There's people doing yoga, there's people doing running, there's people doing meditation. There's groups doing pretty much everything out there. There's also, as we said earlier, there's the groups that are doing things that aren't beneficial to their life as well. So for me, I think it comes down to, at some point, we have to look at who we're surrounding ourselves with and what we're surrounding ourselves with as well to have that impact.
And doing something for someone else, like maybe not necessarily like it's a hard thing to balance. Like I've always remembered this quote by Alan Watts, like the road to damnation is paved with good intention. And you got to be mindful, are you enabling someone's bad behavior versus like genuinely helping someone in a way that is authentic and not harmful. And it's hard to know the difference sometimes. And I think that's how I ended up deciding that it was best for myself, not only because fixing computers for the support workers put a layer of protection between me and the people actually like experiencing the street. Cause I feel like an exposed nerve when I'm working with someone from the streets face to face, because I'm so close to it. I overshare. And then I empathize too much. And then I think I measure myself based on how they're going.
They've
Like if
responded.
they can't do it for themselves, I've let them down. But by
Yeah.
helping the social workers, because I set up their phones and their laptops, and then I think, well, that social worker or that outreach worker is helping 8 people today.
Yeah.
So, and if I help 8 of them, that's a numbers game, you know?
A knock-on effect.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely true, and I totally understand how that layer gives you the kind of not the protection, but it gives you that distance where helping and giving yourself all the time, especially whenever you're very close to the topic, it can still take a toll on you as a person as well. And I think there's that balance that people need to find between
I call it healthy selfish.
Yeah.
Healthy selfish, because knowing the difference is the hardest part, because you do have to still have some boundary to protect yourself. And the way I've phrased it for others has been like, if you can't keep yourself together, you'll fail everyone.
Yeah.
So don't help so much that you've got nothing left. You know, people call it filling their own cup sort of thing. But like, if I don't protect myself, I'll fail all of them. So I have to. Like, it's my responsibility to be a selfish prick sometimes.
No, look, I totally agree. I got to the point where I always thought it was, I put my family and I put the people around me first. And that was, I used to be very proud of that mindset until I realized that if I'm burning out, if I'm not showing up the best version of myself because I'm getting stretched so much, it's not doing them any good in the first place. So I came across the concept a few years back about put yourself first, that filling up your own cup before you fill up others. And it is such a powerful state. It doesn't mean that I still don't want to show up and be the very best for my family, my friends, the colleagues that I work with, the people that listen to this show. It doesn't mean that by any stretch of the imagination. It just means that I need to be the best version of myself to have the greatest impact on all them people around me. Right. So, I've been thinking of trying to ask people and end the show with a question. I don't really know how it's going to work, but it's that hard truth question. Do you think there's any hard truth that you could have asked yourself at any point along that journey that would have maybe got you to where you are today quicker, if that makes sense?
The hard truth, and I know the answer already, the hard truth is I wouldn't change a thing.
Okay.
Because everything happened the way it did. And yeah, it sucks. The only thing I would want to change would be like some of the people that I lost along the way. I'd like to go back and change their minds about what they've done for themselves. Yeah. But the hard truth is I had to go through that to get here. Like it's like an Eminem song or something.
Yeah, no,
I had to go through that place to get to this one.
And I'm not gonna lie. I asked that question for the first time yesterday, and there might be something in this.
I think so. Yeah, I knew the answer immediately.
And his response was the exact same. It was, really? You know what? I would do everything the exact same because
it sucks.
It's made me the person that I am.
Yeah, it hurt. A lot of it hurt, man. I've been through so much pain. I've got so many scars.
Yeah,
like physical and emotional. But whatever coincidences of the universes would have changed might have led, butterfly effect. Things might not be exactly what they are now. Yeah. And I'm looking at a photo of my daughter as I say this, like I wouldn't change anything because it got me here. It got me her.
Got you to this point.
Got me my wife, and she's gorgeous, and I love her.
Yeah.
And she had to go through what she had to become who she is to meet me. Yeah. Like I just believe it. Like, the hard truth is I wouldn't change it.
Okay, Jaron, I thank you very much for sharing that because, again, it was one of the new thoughts I had about how I end the show, but I'm going to rethink it because I think there's a lot of people that will come up with the same answer. Because if I look at my own life,
to see if they all do.
Well, if I look at my own life, and I often say this, I don't have any regrets in my life. And if I was to go back and do it all again, I'd probably make exactly the same mistakes as I've made before.
I have so many regrets, and there's so many people that I've hurt that I wish I wouldn't have. But at the same time, I've been hurt by a lot of people too. Yeah. And everything has led to what I have now, and I wouldn't change that. I wouldn't change it.
No, I'm glad. I'm glad you've said that. I'm glad we've had this discussion because it is it's the highs, low, and the difference that make us who we are. It's the experiences that we have. It's the things that we go through. It's the lessons that we learn along the journey or don't learn along the journey is the exact same. If you had to leave a message with our listeners, what would it be?
I'd have to say, like, I want to reiterate what we were talking about earlier about volunteering or being, in touch with your community, because there is a lot of judgment out there with, people out there on the streets, and people are starting to notice that it's more and more like be connected somehow. If you want to participate or help, be part of one of the larger communities of people that are already doing it. There's like community collectives and food banks, and, it doesn't have to be necessarily homelessness, but I think
you don't need to be doing it with a phone in your hand, recording it all the time and putting it on social media.
I hate that, because the irony is, like, I've seen videos like that where someone's praying. They're filming themselves praying, like, and I thought that Jesus said to pray in secret. Like, that's the most virtue signaling, distasteful thing is filming yourself doing a good deed. Like,
I agree. I totally
integrity's
agree.
doing the right thing when no one's watching is what I was what I led, because that's where value is. Like, doing the
I
right
totally
thing
agree.
because it's the right thing. That's something that we've lost over time. And I intend to continue to do that. Get in touch with someone and lift a load, be part of something, if it's sport or something. But I think volunteering is under, a lot of places are under resourced, or, we have as much staff at St. Pat's as we have volunteers, if not more volunteers. Those people keep the place ticking. And the women that were there when I was volunteering, they changed my life. Like, they're part of who I am today. And I'm always grateful for them. That could be you,
Yeah. That's really great advice. That's awesome. And thank you for sharing that. It's important because the impact that they have is huge, and it's clear to see that
a
they've
piece
had
of
that
someone else's recovery. A part of that. It's amazing.
Jared, I'm very conscious of your time. So are you okay if people reach out, ask any question?
Yeah, I'm on
Get in contact
LinkedIn.
with you?
Find me on LinkedIn is probably best. No, I've pretty much worn my heart on my sleeve for quite some time now. I don't like actively post that much, but I am trying to start some community stuff, especially with lived experience, people that have actually experienced homelessness. I'm advocating for you, and like I was saying before, like, it's all about finding the others. Not if you're looking for heroin, that's different. But if you're finding the people that are on the same page and shining the same torch, I want to hear from you. So if you lived experience of homelessness and want to see what's out there and participate in things, even paid roles, not me personally yet, but like there's stuff out there. So that's what I'm advocating for, is lived experience, which is, people that have been there and done it and lived it, informing the people who make decisions, the policies in government or in the sector of homelessness, of how the system should run.
I think that's, hopefully somebody listening will hear that call and be able to, even if it's
I'd
one
love
person,
to hear from you, and I'll hook you up.
Even
we'll network.
Even if it's one person that can come and can help and support in that space. I do want to just say it again. I think the work you're doing is amazing in that space. I'm very privileged to have been able to talk to you today a little bit about your journey, but also about the work that you're doing in that space. And if nobody else says it between now and the end of time, I want to just make sure you know that you're definitely making a positive impact. It was your story that you shared in LinkedIn that caught my eye. And I think that the more we can talk about these challenging subjects that people are potentially having to navigate through life, the more that we can help people in them moments. So for you to give up an hour and a half, nearly 2 hours of your time today to come and have that conversation, I hugely appreciate it, Jaron.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity, and no, I'm stoked that you found me, mate, because I agree. Like, it needs to snowball. This I don't know if it's a movement, but like there's people who have gone through hell and still come out on top. And bless you, bless you. I think it's a great idea, and you're onto something. So you can't stop the signal, mate. Like, if you're out there and you want to cling on to some hope, like I hope I can there's something in my message that means something to you. Yeah, I think it's an inspiring thing you've done, and I find it a privilege to have been asked to participate. So thank you very much, Glenn.
And now for the legal part. I'm not a registered mental health professional. I'm just some guy who has gone through life, has dealt with a lot of issues, and that has really wanted to move his life from where it was to where he wanted to go. And along that journey, with my own personal development, with my own growth, I've done a lot of research and studying into what it takes to get us to a better place, what it took to get me to a better place. I've also done a certificate in results coaching where that qualifies me to coach other people in terms of improving their lives. But I want to stress, regardless of whether you go to a mental health professional or whether you go and talk to a friend down the road or whether you reach out to the Feck It No More team, the onus is definitely on you to help improve your life. And I want to thank you for showing up today, for listening, for getting involved. That shows that you care about your growth and your development and getting you to a better place. And I really appreciate the time that you have taken to reach out. So until the next time, I'll be waiting. I'll be available to help, support, as I know majority of our community will be too. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for you showing up.